I was late that night. The bus dropped me off at the edge of town, where the streetlights barely reached and shadows seemed to stretch endlessly into the countryside. It was a new moon night, and the darkness was suffocating. My home was a good 10-minute walk from the bus stop, off the main road, nestled between the few houses scattered sparsely across the area. After about 5 minutes of walking, I heard faint music coming from one of the nearby houses. The kind of eerie, off-tune music that makes your skin prickle. It grew louder as I walked, but then, underneath the music, I heard something else, a voice. At first, it was faint, barely a whisper carried on the wind. But as I moved closer, I realized it was a cry for help. My stomach clenched. I didn't know the neighbors well. I had just moved in. But the voice sounded like a little girl. Fear twisted my gut, but I couldn't just walk away. I crept closer to the house, the darkness around me feeling thicker, more oppressive. There were only a couple of lights on inside, casting dim, flickering shadows across the yard. As I strained to listen, the girl's cries became clearer. She was screaming, pleading. I felt a surge of panic. I had no idea what to do, but my feet kept moving, closer and closer. I could hear my heartbeat thundering in my ears. As I reached the side of the house, I saw a shadow through the window, a man. He was holding a knife, a huge, gleaming knife. My breath hitched. The man was playing music loudly on a speaker, masking the girl's screams. I stood frozen as he suddenly slashed something with the knife. Blood sprayed across the room. I nearly gasped aloud but covered my mouth in time, terror gripping me. I couldn't leave her. I had to do something. With my heart pounding, I tiptoed around the house, looking for a way inside. The curtains in the windows were drawn tight, so I couldn't see much. But then, I spotted something, a door. And it was unlocked. My mind raced with thoughts of what might happen next, but I pushed them aside. I had no choice. Slowly, carefully, I slipped inside, doing everything I could not to make a sound. The air inside felt heavy, almost suffocating. I moved towards the room where I thought the girl was. Her cries had grown softer now, almost drowned out by the thumping music. With trembling hands, I reached for the door handle. I turned it slowly, hard in my throat, and pushed it open. What I saw nearly stopped my heart. There she was, wide-eyed, staring back at me in terror. She screamed, but not because of the man with the knife. She was screaming at me. Suddenly, everything clicked. The little girl wasn't in danger at all. She was watching a horror movie with her AirPods in, completely oblivious to everything happening around her. As I stood there, half relieved and half scared out of my mind, she yanked out the AirPods, her face as pale as mine. I quickly explained the situation, trying not to laugh at my own paranoia. It turns out her father was a butcher, and the blood I saw. Yeah, that was him working on tomorrow's order, preparing meat while blasting rock music through the house. The loud music? Just his way of enjoying the isolation, with no neighbors nearby to complain. When he came out, wiping his hands and looking confused, the girl told him what happened. He glanced at her, shook his head, and muttered something about her not watching horror movies at night. I awkwardly nodded in agreement and finally made my way home, heart still racing, but laughing at how utterly ridiculous the whole thing had been.